That's what I'm trying.
Everybody's ready?
Wait. Is everybody ready?
Good evening, everyone. This meeting is called to order. The municipal combined, it's a regular meeting, May 11th, 6 p.m. Can we all please rise to say the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Brescher.
Here.
Councilmember Quill.
Here.
Councilmember Harris. Here. Councilmember Patel.
Here.
Councilmember Patil. Councilmember Pointer.
Present.
Councilmember Ship Freeman.
Here.
Madam Clerk, adequate notice?
Adequate notice of this meeting as required by the Open Public Meeting Act of 1975 has been provided by an annual notice sent to the Home News Tribune, Star Ledger Sentinel, and Desi Talk on November 25th, 2021, and posted at Main Lobby Municipal Complex on that same date.
Council President remarks I'm going to hold off till later. Council members, we're adding to the agenda 02149222, an ordinance amending 12-27-7 of the Township Noise Ordinance to add additional prohibited acts that create noise disturbances. So I need a motion to add it to the agenda.
Motion to enter into the agenda.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Roll call.
Councilmember Brescher.
Yes.
Councilmember Harris.
Yes.
Councilmember Patel.
Yes.
Councilmember Pointer.
Yes.
Councilmember Ship Freeman.
Yes.
Council President Quayle.
Yes.
So that will be introduced.
Number 5, council members, approval of volunteer firefighter. Motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Nish Patel. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? This motion carries. 6. You good?
For the budget amendment first. And then we need a motion to adopt the
Number 6, calendar year 22 municipal and solid waste budget. A is the budget amendment. Can I have a motion to adopt?
Motion to adopt.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Brescher.
Yes.
Councilmember Harris.
Yes.
Councilmember Patel.
Yes.
Councilmember Pointer.
Yes.
Councilmember Ship Freeman.
Yes.
Council President Quayle.
Yes. Use the budget.
So now you're going to open the public hearing for the budget first.
Okay. Councilmember C, with public hearing final adoption of calendar year 2022 municipal budget open for public comment. Do we have a list, Cheryl?
No.
Okay. By call hands, anybody?
Budget open on the
Public comment on the budget?
Public comment on the budget.
No.
Or.
Can I have a motion to close the public portion of the budget?
Motion to close the public portion.
Mr. Tar, I'm sorry. Sure, Mr. Tar, please.
Don Tar, 52 reader. Speaking to the budget, my wife and I have been residents of Edison Township for nearly 40 years. Over those years, we've seen this community grow and prosper. We celebrate its location, we celebrate its services, and its diversity. Like many, we are senior citizens. We're living on a fixed income, pensions, and Social Security. But unlike some you may have heard this evening or will hear, we're not here to attack the proposed municipal budget. We're here to applaud it. At a time of 8.6 inflation, rising prices on almost everything, all goods and services, this budget has been brought in at below cap. Frankly, considering all the fixed costs that are going up, automatic pay increases, bringing in a budget under cap is really quite fantastic. Never forget, this budget must cover paying all of our fixed public employee increases in salaries and benefits that have been negotiated in the past and will move forward in the future. Those increases are locked in, and they must be handled by the municipal budget. Our municipal employees do a fantastic job in Edison, whether it's policing the streets, putting out fires, cleaning our streets. They do a great job, and they should be applauded. They are the glue that keeps this community together. They deserve those salary increases, and we applaud them, and those are built into the budget. We have to also look at dramatically escalating costs in nearly everything else. Look at the cost of gasoline that's going to be required to fuel those police vehicles, the fire trucks, the DPW vehicles. Look at what it's going to cost to just put 50 to 100,000 tons of ice down for the winter. In spite of all these dramatically escalating costs, the budget has to be applauded. And in spite of this, let's look at all the added programs that we're getting in this new budget. The Toth Senior Center and Health Center, the new rec center, the new Jets Field, the community garden, the splash park, and the park improvement plan. As I said, it's a solid budget, it's a good budget. It provides continued excellent service with new and innovative programs, and it's a budget that will move our Edison community forward, make it an even better place to live. I urge the City Council to approve the budget. It's what our community needs. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Starr. Yes. Krista?
Krista, South Edison, am I recognized?
You're recognized and you have the floor.
Thank you. I'm against the budget. I think there's a lot of nonsense on the budget, like a $250,000 splash park where we're going to use it, 3 months out of the year? $250,000, that's almost the budget for the Board of Education. Now it's a little more, the Board of Education. It used to be 250. I'm not okay with that. We could put the money elsewhere, and then there's also, another 250,000 for the Central Ave field, the Jets field. That's $500,000 right there, and there's other places, through the chair to Councilman Brescher, where they're wasting money. It's a disgrace that, as you can see today in the resolutions, there's going to be a resolution for SWAT gear. It could possibly be for shields, hopefully tasers, so this way we don't have to shoot people when it's not necessary. What's going on in this town? Everyone's taxes are going to rise tremendously. And again, I hope we're against the budget. I hope we don't just rubber stamp everything Sam Joshi wants. I know you guys sometimes will hear from a minority of people, maybe 10, 20 people, and pretend they speak for the whole community, when there'll be hundreds, if not thousands, who disagree with those people. And you guys always pander to the minority in the room at that moment in time. This is dangerous politics that I think you guys play here in Edison, New Jersey. You never want to do the right thing. You never want to tell the people that's in front of you the opposite of what they want to hear. So how much time do I have left, Marlena? 3 minutes? So again, $250,000 for a splash park, it's not just the splash park, $250,000. All that water. I know, Miss Margot, you asked if they can recycle the water, but 3 months out of the year, $250,000 investment, you guys could do a community pool. This is ridiculous, and I know why you guys put it in there, because only one council person's been asking for this for years, and absolutely disgusting. In regards to the money we gave for the Jets, we could have taken the $250,000 for the splash park, the $250,000 for the Jets, and just gave it $500,000 to the Board of Education. Help them out and let the Board of Education. I know we have people laughing out here, but the Board of Education would have used the money a lot better than our township officials use the money. I've seen they're a lot more professional in how they handle their business. And even when they attend the audience, they act even more professional. How much time do I have, Marlena? How much time? A little over 2 minutes. Okay. I'll sit down and I'll come back. I hope we vote against the budget. I hope we're against the splash park, the silly splash park. And in regards to any deal that Sam Joshi does, or this government does, that's over $100,000 or over $50,000, I'm sure it always goes to one of your family or friends. And how much is the maintenance for the water park going to cost? Well, they don't answer my question when I'm up here anyway. They're not going to even answer it later, so I'll sit down, right?
Thank you. Ms. Massaro?
Thank you, Council President.
Good evening, Councilman.
My name is Tony Massaro. I live at 86 Laurel Hollow Court.
You recognize you have the floor.
I've done what you do for some 12 years, and one of the worst parts of a budget was the final deliberations. I would refer to as the nitpicking. There's two numbers I don't know, and I think I need to know right now. One, can someone give me a guesstimate as to what the school board budget is?
260 million.
How much?
260 million.
260 million. And how much is the municipal budget?
158.
158. So we're not more than the school board budget. Secondly, and I'm not sure anybody knows this, but, and maybe it's an unfair question, but do we know how many dollars equals one tax point in this budget? And for point of reference, when I did what you're doing, it was $775,000, but that was 2010. I suspect it's something more. And what would make me very upset in doing final budget deliberations was when an item of 50,000 was pointed out, an item of 200,000 was pointed out, or someone would complain that we're buying pencils for recreation. Because when you add all those things up, it didn't equal to one tax point. And I just want to say thank you for the work you're doing. And do you have that number, sir, already?
Councilman, we wait till the member of the public is finished and we answer questions after.
Oh, okay, well,
Just a new procedure we're doing.
okay, good enough. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Do we have that answer for him?
We do. One tax point at 735.
One tax point, 735. Okay. Anybody else open comments for the budget? Mr. Boslett?
Dan Boslett, 5B Center Street. I was born and raised in this town. Been here for a long time. 48 years old. It's the first time that I've seen a council and a mayor administration work together to get things for the youth of this town. We're in dire need of upgrades. We're in dire need of things. They're not unnecessary. These are all things that keep kids involved, get them off the video games, teach them discipline, give them something other than hanging out on the street corners with their friends. It's a necessary part. It's never happened here before. Never. Like I said, I've been involved in sports, and I've lived here my entire life. It's never happened before. Like some of the other comments, I want to applaud you for the work that you've done and for paying attention to our children in town. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, please. Yes, Councilman.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I know that the north side did get the Shamrock Field. I forgot who the mayor was. It might have been Spadoro or Choi, but the Shamrocks never had a field. So there was an administration that definitely looked out for our children. I do know in the past.
Thank you, Councilman.
Ellen Arthur.
Hello.
Ellen Arthur, 155 Michelle Circle, Edison.
You
I
recognize you have the floor.
Yes, I applaud, as others have done, the recommendations that have been presented to you with approving the monies that's so well needed for the projects that have been indicated. For our children, especially in this season and this time, they are in dire need of socialization. It's crucial. So I support any and everything that this council would approve to bring our children out so that they can socialize, so that their minds can be stimulated, there can be interaction of all the children in this community. And whether it's a splash park, whether it's a football, whatever it is, I think it's an excellent idea. And I admire what you're doing, and I definitely take my hat off to Mayor Josie, who has finalized, put this whole plan together with the things that they're proposing for this town. It is well needed. It is extremely needed with the minds of, particularly when we're talking about the children in this community.
Thank you. Have a motion to close the public portion?
Council President, just before we do that, Christo reminded me of something, and that was the question I did pose several meetings back about the possibility or looking into the recycling of water, you know, my concern about the waste and the cost of that. And I wonder if there was any look-see into that at all.
Point of
Was a
clarification.
discussion with Public Works Department about recirculating or having go straight to waste, but we haven't finalized anything at this point.
Okay.
It is something that they would like to see the non-recirculating system for maintenance purposes, but we have not moved forward with any official design at this point.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Motion to close the public portion?
Motion to close the public portion.
Second. Second. I have a motion to adopt.
Council President. Council President, I'd like to just make a statement on this.
We'll do council comments. We're going to do council, first we motion to adopt, then you have council comments. Fair enough?
Fair.
Okay. Have a motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
Adopt by Councilman Porter. Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Harris. Council comments?
Council President.
Councilman Brescher, you have the floor,
Thank you.
and you're recognized.
There's still some information, I guess I'm waiting. I was trying to get the vacancies that we had with the list of employees that I guess Ken was saying, you know, he's still working on. That's something that I'm going to expect and request every month just so I can keep track where we are financially over the course of the year. You know that, as part of the discussions that we had, I feel that there is money inside this budget in our reserves that we don't necessarily need this year, but seeing where we're headed as far as the recession, seeing that money being able to be used next year, I don't oppose. I do have concerns with our sewer department and what we're spending there. The township came together and we decided that we wanted to manage the sewer department as opposed to have Suez. What our sewer department does is exactly what Suez was going to do. We hire outside companies. We do some of the work ourselves. So the only thing that we got to save was on the financing of all of this repair that our sewers need. And in looking at the budget, it doesn't look like we're investing enough in our the refurbishment of our sewers. You know, and like I said, we have these 3 areas that I know of. There were actually 4, but the one we kind of, I guess we took off the table. There were the one down by Clark. It was the one down by the mosque, and down on Grove Avenue, that the engineering department was working on a solution. So we don't have the money allocated to do any of the repairs for that. In fact, I don't even know that we have the money allocated to do the engineering of those studies. So that's something that I'm just going to keep on you for the rest of the year here.
Sure, Council President, may I? Just to that effect, I'm sorry, we just did, in terms of the sewer infrastructure, we are addressing that through a whole financial process with our pump stations, so that is part of the bigger picture planning, and we're looking at various sources of funding, including iBank and FEMA recovery monies. There are various ways we're trying to look at it, so we don't necessarily want to, we didn't feel like it was appropriate to address it in this budget at this point, but in the larger scheme of things, we're talking about a long-term capital planning, planning with our finance committee, so that's something that we're going to include in there, but at this point, we didn't feel like it was an item to include in this budget.
And when do you anticipate having that?
That's going to be worked on this year, the capital infrastructure plan. And that would be included in the next budget year and years to follow.
Okay.
Thank you, Councilman Rusher. Any other council
Council
comments?
President?
Yes, Council Vice President Joy Shipp.
I would like to applaud.
You're recognized, you have the floor.
Yeah, I would like to applaud this budget because this is the first budget that really addresses the children in Edison and the things that they need. I went around, and plus I've coached myself over the year. I'm just not talking. I've coached myself for years, different sports. So this is the first time that they will be able to play on real nice, decent fields. They will have nice equipment, and it's a shame when we go other places because this is known as an affluent community, and we go other places and they have better facilities for our children. Everything that's added, the splash parks, the new turf fields, all that, and the senior growth, everybody was included when they made this particular budget. So I just really applaud everybody who got together, worked on this budget, and thought of the actual people of Edison when they did the budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Other council comments?
Council
Yes.
President.
Councilman Pony, you're recognized, you have the floor.
Thank you, Council President. One thing I'd like to mention, I know sometimes it's thought that we don't do our due diligence here when reviewing the numbers. When we got the prep sheets, I actually reverse filtered to see what type of items we were spending the money on, not just by department. So when we speak on fuels and lubricants, for instance, as Mr. Tarr had mentioned, seeing how much we are actually figuring for that, how much we are figuring for the education and the training of the employees here at council, or within the administration, apologies, and kind of throughout the board. And I would like to say that this is very well thought out, at least in my personal opinion, and I look forward to supporting this budget. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, council member. Any other council comments? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Brescher.
Yes.
Councilmember Harris.
Yes.
Councilmember Patel.
Yes.
Councilmember Pointer.
Yes.
Councilmember Ship Freeman.
Yes.
Council President Coyle.
Yes. B, the public hearing and final adoption for the calendar year 22 solid waste budget. Can I open the public for any comments? Seeing none, can I have a motion to close the public portion?
Motion to
to-
close the public portion?
Let's have a second.
Second.
Second by Councilman Pointer. Can I have a motion to adopt?
Motion to adopt.
Councilman Pointer, can I have a second?
Second.
Council comments on the municipal solid waste budget? Hearing none, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Brescher.
Yes.
Councilmember Harris.
Yes.
Councilmember Patel.
Yes.
Councilmember Pointer,
Yes.
Councilmember Ship Freeman,
Yes.
Council President Coyle.
Yes. 7, unfinished business, ordinance for further consideration, public hearing, and final adoption. Clerk, read ordinance.
Ordinance of the Township of Edison authorizing a lease of certain premises located at 54 Ethel Road in the Township of Edison for the storage of vehicles and equipment or other associated public purposes, and to execute the lease agreement associated therewith.
Ordinance is open to the public. Any comments? Seeing none, can I have a motion to close the public portion?
Motion to close the public
Councilman
portion.
Harris, can I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Patel. Can I have a motion to adopt?
Motion to adopt.
Councilman Harris, can I have a second, please?
Second.
Second, Councilman Patel. Any council comments? Hearing none, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Brescher,
Yes.
Councilmember Harris,
Yes.
Councilmember Patel,
Yes.
Councilmember Pointer,
Yes.
Councilmember Ship Freeman,
Yes.
Council President Coyle.
Yes.
Yeah.
8, new business, proposed ordinance, public hearing set down for further consideration Wednesday. Clerk, read ordinance.
Bond ordinance providing for various capital improvements in and by the Township of Edison, the County of Middlesex, New Jersey, appropriating $7,790,000, therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $400,500 bonds or notes for the Township to finance their part of.
Can I have a motion to introduce?
Motion to introduce.
June 29th.
I move this ordinance be passed on first reading, published according to law for further consideration and public hearing set down for, is that June 20? June 29th.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilman Pointer. Council comments? Hearing none, roll clerk, Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Brescher,
Yes.
Councilmember Harris,
Yes.
Councilmember Patel,
Yes.
Councilmember Pointer,
Yes.
Councilmember Ship Freeman,
Yes.
Council President Coyle.
Yes. Clerk, read ordinance.
Oh, wait a second. So now all right, this is one we have to change.
Okay.
You want to make a
Okay.
change on before we introduce
This is
it?
the
2148.
time.
Mm-hmm.
So we are, you going to do the introduction with the amendment?
No, if you want to amend it, you're gonna amend it before we introduce it.
Okay.
That's what you all agreed, yes.
Council
Amend
President.
The time.
Yes.
I motion to amend this ordinance to, instead of reading 4 minutes, to read 5 minutes.
At this
Thank
point,
you.
no motion is required and simply be introduced as a 5-minute instead of 4.
Right.
So it can be introduced as such. Yeah.
Do we need a second?
What?
Do we need a
No,
second?
no.
No, you don't. You can just be introduced as as a 5-minute ordinance as
I'm gonna,
opposed to 4.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, are you changing anything else in it? It's the only thing you're changing.
That's it.
He's all agreed to
Okay.
make it 5 minutes. So the
Can I
ordinance.
can I have a
so-
second?
No, there is no for that. This ordinance amends 2 right?
Everything will be the same instead of saying 4 minutes, it will
It's
say
going to be
5
5 minutes.
Clerk, read ordinance.
This ordinance amends section 2-2.13 entitled Addressing the Council of the Township by providing a 5-minute for the public to speak and providing for no rebuttal. So I have a motion to introduce.
Have a motion to introduce.
Council President.
Yes.
I move this ordinance be passed on first reading, published according to law, for further consideration and public hearing set down for Wednesday, June 29th.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Councilman Patel. Any council comments?
Council President?
Yes. You recognize Councilman Brescher.
Yes, I was trying to, I personally think what we're doing here is just a giant waste of our time, taxpayers' time. But because it's not going to solve whatever you're looking to solve, and negotiation from a 6 minutes to a 4 minutes to a 5 minutes, it sounds like that bad comedy movie where the guy was going to come up with a 4-minute ad because somebody else had the 5-minute ad. So I just don't see that this is going to achieve what you're looking for. I think a discussion by the council openly with the public to discuss, the issues that we have would be better, and then to draft something up together that we all agree upon, as opposed to somebody decided that it was 4 minutes, and then with a little public pressure, they convinced them to make it 5 minutes. That's all, Council
Madam
President.
Clerk, please let the record reflect Councilman Brescher's comments. Any other council comments?
Yes, Council President?
Yes, you have the floor, Councilwoman Harris.
I have spent the day wrestling with this, and my original instincts when I saw this ordinance were, as I mentioned on Monday at the work session, which is, to me, it's not about the minutes. It's not about 6 or 4 or whatever it is. It's about the way in which these 6 minutes are used. It's about the running a tight ship. It's about people speaking only when they are recognized and sitting down when they are not recognized. So I've been skeptical of making any change from 6 to 4. I mean, and I personally liked much better the way the Monday meeting was run. I think that was much more the model of the way we need to be running these meetings. Certainly still, as I said then, kinks that need to be worked out. One of them being that I would prefer when the public is speaking on resolutions or they, or at the work session when they give their initial remarks, I would prefer to see their questions answered in real time instead of holding off, because there obviously were questions that got lost in the shuffle. And so I would prefer that answers be given in the time after the person is done asking the question. Just a preference, and I think a preference of the public. I am, however, prepared to say yes to the 5 minutes. However, I want to say that I would be putting this on a trial basis, and if it seems that if this isn't working, I would be happy to move it back to the 6 minutes, 6 minutes and maybe a smaller rebuttal time. I'm willing to give this a try on good faith. I have doubts. I have some skepticism about it. I'm willing to do this, but really holding feet to the fire, and if necessary, coming back and looking at this at a later point to amend again. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other council comments?
Mr. President.
Yes, Council Vice President, you're recognized. You have the floor.
Yes, I believe 5 minutes, even when people do reports in school, they can do a whole thing in 5 minutes. So 5 minutes is ample enough time for anybody to say what they have to say, because within your 5 minutes, you get time for your ordinance. That's extra minutes. You get time for your resolution. That's another 5. So you've already gathered 15 minutes if you speak on each thing. But what I would like to see is that when you're speaking on something, that the council abide by your rules by not going back and forth with you. Okay? So when it's a public session, it's the public section. So, and I agree with Councilwoman Harris that you should be answered at that time so it doesn't get lost later on. So if you're answered at that time, I don't have a problem with stopping it for a minute while the person is answering you, the proper people that that know the real answers to the questions, not some back and forth. So that's what I mean by rules and information that you go back and forth with people. That's why I'm good with 5 minutes, and I'm not a waffler. So I'm in favor of 5 minutes because I've seen 5 minutes everywhere. And if you have to keep asking people and you have time, like Lou Renaud said last time, if you get 10 minutes, you'll say the same thing over 10 times. That's how it is. So that's how I feel about 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Vice President. Any other comments from council members?
Council President?
Yes.
I just wanted to give a little research as to what I've done over the past couple of days, just to see what other townships within Middlesex County have done in similar scope. East Brunswick, Metuchen, New Brunswick, Old Bridge, Perth Amboy, Sayreville, South Amboy, South Brunswick, and Woodbridge all have ordinances and guidelines of which this replicates. So I just wanted to state that for the public. Thank you.
Thank you.
Council President,
Yes, you're recognized. You have the floor.
I also want to echo the statements made by Councilwoman Harris. Ultimately, what I want with this resolution is better engagement, better interaction, and faster results. And if this does not get us there, I am willing to revisit this in the future to tweak it as we see fit. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. And no more, there any more council comments? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Brescher.
No.
Councilmember Harris.
Yes.
Councilmember Patel.
Yes.
Councilmember Pointer.
Yes.
Councilmember Ship Freeman.
Yes.
Council President Coyle.
Yes.
Next one is
Clerk, read ordinance.
an ordinance amending 12-27.7 of the Township Noise Ordinance to add additional prohibited acts that create noise disturbances.
Can I have a motion to introduce?
Council President,
Yes.
I
Council,
move that this ordinance be passed on first reading, published according to law for further consideration and public hearing set down for Wednesday, June 29th.
can I have a second?
Second.
Harris? Any council comments?
Council
Madam-
President,
Yes.
I have a question to the attorney.
This is for the noise ordinance, right?
Yes.
Okay, yes, you're recognized, Councilman Brescher.
I see that we're strengthening this a little bit. Would this help the residents down by Amazon with noise? Where they've had issues with noise that, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night?
Seemingly, it seems like it could. Obviously, I don't know the specific issues that they're having, but any strengthening the noise ordinance would certainly help all residents.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. And their council comments? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Brescher.
Yes.
Councilmember Harris.
Yes.
Councilmember Patel.
Yes.
Councilmember Pointer.
Yes.
Councilmember Ship Freeman.
Yes.
Council President Coyle.
Yes. 9, public comments on resolutions only. Do we need a list or no? The resolution open to the public. Anybody would like to speak on the resolutions? Mr. Diamond?
Diamond 74 Calvert. Resolution 367, the $9,400 to deal with the house on Stevensville. Is that supposed to include removing the debris, or that's just for knocking the house down?
We're going to answer your comments at the end when you're
I have
finished.
another question, okay.
Okay, and we're going to address that when you sit down after you're done, right away.
Okay, and what happens if the answer is incomplete?
That's the procedure we're following. You can always come up and speak again.
And is there a lien placed against a tax lien placed against the property to recover the money from the owner of the property? Or is that a taxpayer expense?
Thank you, Mr. Diamond. Sonia?
Sure. Actually, we were just dealing with this particular issue, so I believe that it is the homeowner in this case that needs to come over and collect the debris that remains there. But I can confirm that information. And two, as far as the cost related to the township, it's my understanding in terms of procedure, and I'll defer to the attorney, that there would potentially be a lien put on the property. But again, I defer to the attorney. That's usually the process. If we go out there and start cutting lawns, then the manpower will be charged to the taxpayer.
That is absolutely correct. A resolution would later be forthcoming, which would then attach that. This is the cost of that to the property. A lien would be attached, and we would recoup those funds in the event of a sale of the property.
Can I ask a follow-up question? That was one of my items to poll. Because I
Councilman
thought that,
Brescher, if you don't mind, I just
Okay.
want, if we can get through this part with Mr. Diamond, and then we'll make sure you have your chance to speak when we pull, you decide to pull. Does that answer your question, Mr. Diamond? You had the debris,
So who puts a fence up and when, so it's a safe area? Thank you.
thank you.
That was my question.
Yes, Gaddy, answer this question, please.
Sure, I will get back to him on that, Mr. Diamond.
And this is part of the tragic fire that just happened over the weekend?
Correct, and
Okay.
the homeowner currently is hospitalized, so that is the part of the situation why it has taken some time. But we are dealing with the situation, our fire department has been addressing it.
Okay, thank you. Questions, any other members of the public on the resolutions only? Christo? Your name and address, please.
Thank you. Christo, South Edison, am I recognized?
You're recognized, you have the floor.
Thank you. Resolution R 338. Resolution amending contract with Vision Media Marketing for public relations and communications consulting services, adding 7,000
338.
to contract revised total amount. Oh wait, did I? All right. So for R 338, I'm against that. Who uses these public relations firms? Oftentimes, when countries commit war crimes, they might need a public relations firm. I'm against R 338 because the politicians and the police can use the media outlets to attack their political opponents through this Vision Media Marketing. That's one simple example. And have we been using Vision Media Marketing to attack private citizens here in Edison Township? That's a question that I have. Me personally, I think so. I think we've been using Vision Media Marketing, especially when we put out newspaper articles that people are arrested for things that they're not actually charged with. It makes you wonder what the agenda is in this township. Another question I might have is who owns this Vision Media Marketing company? Are we violating rights so badly in this township that we had to hire a public relations firm to cover things up? Is that what's going on here? How much time left do I have now? 4 minutes? Okay, I'd like to talk about R 373. Resolution awarding contract purchase order for SWAT equipment, tactical garments, flex cuffs, and miscellaneous equipment to lawmen. Supply company for the SWAT team, $18,000. Because no one likes to answer my questions, but I'll go through the chair to Councilman Brescher, someone with the head on their shoulders up there. Councilman Brescher.
Christo, no questions are going to be answered directly from a council person.
I know.
We'll answer at the end. But go
He
ahead.
could if he chooses later. But for R 373, through the council president to Councilman Brescher, now, the question I have for this, you guys can't even answer. You guys, like Joy said, you guys aren't even qualified to answer this question. Why is there not a representative from the police department? One question I have that I'd like to know is this also for the stun guns, the tasers, taser guns? We need these because there's been a situation we had recently. I saw on the body-worn camera, not one officer was equipped with this. Not one officer even had a SWAT shield with them. If they were well equipped, could this resident still be alive today? If we had a community-orienting policing unit that actually did their job, that when you see the body-worn camera again, every officer on the scene knew that there was a problem with this individual, why no one reached out from this township to see how the guy's doing, his mental health, to let him know, hey, we're not targeting you. If you have any complaints, let us hear your complaints. We'll take them serious, even if you were never going to take that complaint serious. Why don't you guys ever do your job? Me, personally, I believe R 373 is too late. I remember when we had a former councilman come up here and bash this council for refusing a vote when Councilman Brescher is only one person. There were other people who also voted, and they voted against that vote because they didn't answer the questions they wanted on that day. You guys, this is also a late resolution. Why aren't you guys taking this serious? Why is it up there now? Why aren't our police officers equipped with, were they equipped? Did they have the SWAT shields in their cars and refused to use it that day, knowing the type of individual they were dealing with? Why didn't one of them have any taser weapons? Why is there no chief of police here or one of his captains to answer my question? None of you are qualified to answer this. Maybe I should ask one of the police back there, but I don't think they know. They're just patrolmen. They can't answer this question either. How much time do I have left, Marlena? 5 minutes. Shame on you people. Your job is to save people's lives, create policies to save people's lives. Just like Mayor Sam Joshi claims he wants to be the public safety director, yet wants to violate people's civil rights, rather take seriously arming our police with the equipment that they need, the tasers, the non-lethal equipment. Are we going to give them shotguns that we can shoot out non-lethal through the shotgun? Is that on the list? Are you qualified to answer that question, Council President Coyle? Is it only the tactical garment? What qualifies as a tactical garment? Is it the bulletproof vest? Again, are you qualified to answer that question? I don't know. Certainly we need a lot more than flex cuffs. I hope we're not spending $18,000 on flex cuffs. We need the tasers. We need the shields. Flex cuffs, that's what I'm threatening to lock you guys up with. Remember, I told Jerry I was going to lock him up with the flex cuffs.
Thank you, Christo. Do you have an answer to?
And are we being live streamed at this moment?
Yes, we are. Do you have a question? Do you have an answer for the few questions?
Council President, just so I may understand, the question is with regard to exactly what's being purchased?
Yeah, well, the first question, Vision Media, what's the purpose of the Vision Media?
The Vision Media, as I had stated before, it is to, for the additional cost of the print. This includes the illuminator and other media that's being generated. The original contract, I believe, was for $60,000 or so, but now with the additional printing, this should cover for the end of, until the end of the year.
And for 373, do you know what's included in the purchase of the $18,663?
So included in that are flex cuffs, and in there also are shirts, pants, any other, and shielding equipment, and a tactical system jacket. So those are part of the equipment that's included in the 373.
Thank you. Any other members of the public on resolutions only? Yes, Mr. Fagan?
Thank you, Council President. Nick Fagan, 42 Edgewood Road.
You recognize you have the floor. Thank you,
sir. 2 questions and a statement. There was some discussion at the work session about the line striping and whether or not we had that capability. It did make sense to me as a resident that if we have the capability in the city tradesmen to do that we ought to be doing that and not contracting that out. But it sounded like maybe there was a capability that we did not have, and I'd like to see the business administrator address that. There was also a question in the last time about the monitors, and I was hoping you could address that, as we were promised an answer on that.
Specific on the monitors?
Something like why there was 66 monitors,
Okay.
I think, right? And we were promised an answer. And then the last thing that I wanted to make a comment on was the what is it? The sports building, 352, I think. The sports building site plan. Sounds like there's some excitement in the town about this sports building, especially with the youth sports that are going on. So I would definitely ask you to please pass that and very quickly. Thank you.
Thank you. Sonia?
Sure. On the first question with regard to the striping, at this current stage, we do not have the manpower to cover all of that. In addition to the thermoplastic application that we're trying to apply, Within the packet, there's a quote with all of the different intersections that this is going to cover. I did confirm with the DPW director that this would be done prior to the new school year beginning. And prior to also starting the striping, and within the work, it'll be done between 24 to 48 hours. So I did get some answers on that. And then with regard to the the monitors and the software, it covers, I believe, 10 workstations. That's within the, I think it was 10 or 20, I'm sorry, 12. There are 12 workstations, but in total, we do have some backup. So then that's why there's that amount of equipment in there.
Thank you. Any other members of the public on resolutions only? Comments? Seeing none, can I have a motion to close the public portion on resolutions?
Motion to close the public portion.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Okay, just a second. Still on favor here. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays?
Well,
Okay, so close the public portion only. We're not, that's what we're doing right there. Okay, council members, any resolution to be pulled, starting from my left, Councilman Pointer.
None, sir.
None, sir. Councilman Patel.
None, sir.
Council Vice President Joy Shipp.
None.
Councilwoman Harris.
None, sir.
Councilman Rich Brescher.
338, 340, and 367.
338, 340, and
367.
367. So we're going to have a motion to adopt the consent agenda, withholding 338, 340, and 367. Madam Clerk, are you okay with that so far? Can I have a motion to adopt the consent agenda again for 338, with removing 338, 340, and 367? Have a motion, please.
Motion to adopt.
Councilman Porter, can I have a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Brescher?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Patel?
Yes.
Councilmember Pointer?
Yes.
Councilmember Ship Freeman?
Yes.
Council President Coyle?
Yes.
What's the third one?
338, 340, and 367. Councilmember Brescher, 338.
Yes, 338. I wanted to pull because we spent quite a bit on promoting and pictures and photos, and I don't know that I agree to spend more money on this. I think we should spend more money and start actually doing and producing these things, like taking care of our basketball courts that we have for our kids, right? And make sure that our parks are clean, and just these basic necessities before we increase our photo op. So I just don't see why we'd want to spend it. So I wanted to pull for a separate vote because I'd like to vote no on that.
Okay, can I have a motion to adopt?
Council President?
Yeah, any council comments?
I just wanted to make a comment on that. I think for better engagement and better communication, having these kind of visual media services does help the town. Not everyone gets to see what we are doing. They might be busy with work and other things. Hopefully, this will communicate with them what we, as a council and the administration, what we are doing. And so I believe this is a good thing for the town. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Can I have a motion to adopt 338?
Motion to adopt.
Councilwoman Harris, can I have a second?
Second.
Second, John Pointer. Councilman Pointer. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Brescher?
No.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Patel?
Yes.
Councilmember Pointer?
Yes.
Councilmember Ship Freeman?
Yes.
Council President Coyle?
Yes. Councilmember Brescher, 340.
340. I'm going to explain a little story so my council colleagues understand. I'm really looking for this one to be pulled until it can be reviewed. And I'll tell you my concerns. I've done a lot of labor contracts that I myself personally had to review and had to do. One in particular actually involved a laborers local very similar to this. So I was signed with laborers local, I believe it was 79 in Manhattan. And over the course of a contract, I had to remove asbestos. So I hired a subcontractor. The subcontractor hired a Teamster local that did the asbestos removal. 2 years later, I ended up in federal court in Manhattan, sued by the laborers local, which claimed the work that I gave to another contractor that had union work. So signing up with a laborer local is just not that simple. We sign up. There could be other issues that we have here. I don't know that the pay scale is the same as our labor that we have now that's doing the labor. So do we get a grievance from our people, or did we get a waiver from our local Teamster union saying that they're going to waive any sort of grievances? None of these questions have been answered. And what I normally do is I would review the contract, because they give you a contract that's a couple pages long, and you can object to certain items within the contract. No contract was provided. I asked the clerk if we could have a copy. I know that she requested a copy. So we don't even know what's in this labor agreement. Most people up here on the dais have never, dealt with labor agreements or anything, but they're like any other contract. And I've watched this township lose many grievances due to the labor contracts, where if it just would have, the word just would have been may, or, it would have changed the whole dynamics of the lawsuit. So being that we don't have anything that we could review, I would ask to table this until we can, review the labor agreement that you've received from Local 77, had everybody look at it, had our Teamsters look at it, or whoever our local union is here, to make sure that they're also in agreement and they're not going to be filing any sort of grievances or charges against us. Unless somebody can assure me that every union has agreed and Local 77 has agreed that they'll never sue the Township of Edison.
Thank you, Councilman Brescher. Your comments are noted. Madam Clerk, let the record reflect his comments. Have a motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt?
Motion to adopt. Have a second.
Second.
Second by Councilman Harris. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Brescher.
Absolutely no.
Councilmember Harris.
Yes.
Councilmember Patel.
Yes.
Councilmember Pointer.
Abstain.
Councilmember Ship Freeman.
Yes.
Council President Coyle.
Yes.
1, 2,
Councilmember Brescher's 367.
3, 4.
367, right, we talked about at the last meeting of whether this was, I understand the need to take down the home. I also do believe that the township can seek the funds from the owner or probably their insurance carrier. My concern was the big pile of rubble that was there, because in my agenda it said the work was done, and all that I seen was that the home was taken down. So we don't really know for sure whether our guy for this amount of money was to take away the debris or the homeowner is.
I have the answer for you, if I may.
Okay.
We're actually waiting for the the homeowner is waiting for the insurance carrier. The son of the homeowner is working through the carrier to make sure that the adjuster reviewed the entire property, so that now the debris may be removed by the insurance, through the insurance carrier.
Okay,
So that was
then-
confirmed.
Then the other question is on any, I would consider that a construction site at this point. One of our residents brought this up, that any place else that we do construction or something like that, there's a safety fence that gets placed around it. If we were going to do this, we should have done that. It shouldn't be sitting there. I'm sure kids will play on it.
Thank you, Councilman Brescher. Madam Clerk, let his comments reflect the minutes, please. Can I have a motion to adopt 367?
Motion to adopt?
Councilwoman Harris, can I have a second, please?
Second.
Second. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Brescher.
Yes.
Councilmember Harris.
Yes.
Councilmember Patel.
Yes.
Councilmember Pointer.
Yes.
Councilmember Ship Freeman.
Yes.
Council President Coyle.
Yes. Thank you, council members. Good? Everybody's good? Open up the public portion. Okay. Pause and I'm rushing you a lot, and I know I should slow down a little bit. You good? Okay. Open up the public portion to oral petition remarks. Can I have a list here? Christo, you're first on the list.
Krista, am I recognized?
Yes, you're recognized, Christo. You have
I'm
the
the
floor.
digital creator and activist behind the Jersey Watcher YouTube channel. I am a police accountability and civil rights activist serving the community of Edison, New Jersey. Since running for mayor of Edison in the 2021 election cycle, I have faced a number of politically motivated attacks by Edison politicians and the Edison Police Department. The political suppression has escalated from public insult of my family by police officers to unlawful arrest. I am born and raised in South Edison. I am an activist for children's rights, civil rights, police accountability, and political justice in Edison, New Jersey. My voice is a threat to the corrupt politicians and law enforcement officials who are intent on hoarding power and maintaining the status quo. Local newspapers have worked alongside police and political adversaries in unethical attempts to further criminalize my lawful actions and slander me. Last week, I won my court case against the Edison teacher. A few hours later, the judge ruled I can also pursue my ethics complaint against the most corrupt BOE member, Baral Patel. How much time do I have left, Marlena? 4 minutes. Beautiful. Your fake research, your fake survey of other municipalities cherry-picked municipalities who had the lowest time limit. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with such an argument. What you see today in the ordinance to limit people's time, this is just, they don't want to hear from the public. That's just a legal formality. If you could, you do away with it altogether. It's unfortunate that the law forces you to listen to what else the public has to say. It is a public meeting. I want you to remember this. Before, most of you aren't even lifelong Edison residents, and I want you to know that past residents fought for us to have 6 minutes. Coyle, you should be appreciative. Brescia, you should be appreciative of that. A lot of residents fought for us to have one of the best time limits here in the state of New Jersey, and you guys are dishonoring their memory. Your fake arguments that people repeat the same thing holds no water. You can say that. People never do that. You ran for office when we had 6 minutes. You should have told your constituents, the people that you were going to represent during campaign season, that you wanted to censor the public. But you never do that during campaign season. You go, you lie to everyone's face, and now you want to censor the public. It's not up to you how the public uses their time, just like it's not up to us how you guys use your own time. If you guys want to make a circus act a fool, that's up to you guys. But please, don't punish us because we have a mayor that's insecure and maybe he's afraid he might get criticized for something. That's absolutely obnoxious. And about the last meeting, yeah, everyone behaved the last meeting because Coyle behaved the last meeting because maybe someone taught him parliamentary procedure, that you can't just interrupt somebody left and right. You can't just keep on saying that someone's breaking a rule, and they're not actually breaking a rule. And of course, we have zombies in the audience or at home, and they actually believe that stuff. Thank God he's behaving today. And you can tell he got somebody taught him because he waits after he recognizes. He makes sure to recognize each and every one of you. That's very important. How much time do I have left, Marlena? Let's stop lashing out at members of the public because we have an insecure mayor that maybe, hey, there's been a recent event that happened recently, and he doesn't want to be criticized for that. Let's stop attacking residents that I came here. There's times I come here, I walk 2 miles out in the heat wave to come here and speak my time. Like I said before, past residents have fought for 6 minutes. They deserve the 6 minutes. We deserve it now. Here we have chairs right behind our chairs. We have it dedicated to former residents. Again, when you guys go and you run for office, tell your constituents, we want to censor you. We want to take away the public speaking time altogether. And it's not just, 5 minutes, great, but you're removing now the rebuttals too. So you're not just removing 1 minute from people's time, technically removing 4 minutes, and that's not counting when people go to speak on the resolutions as well. That's even more minutes. God bless America. God bless the past Edison residents that gave us the best speaking time here in the state of New Jersey. And now the Sam Joshi team want to spit in their face. People want to come here and talk about the fentanyl crisis. Coyle, was that my clock? People want to come here and talk about the fentanyl crisis. A lot of us, our family members passed away, whatever it is, and you want to take away our time during the coronavirus pandemic when people are losing their jobs, when people are losing their homes. Council Vice President Joy Ship-Freeman, she stated something to the effect the last meeting about people's grass, why it's so high, whatever. I'd like her to know that in my neighborhood, when it gets like that, people aren't living in those homes. The banks already took those homes away from us. We got the government preying on Sam Joshi's administration, preying on the residents. Are we demolishing people's properties? Are we demolishing people's properties that are good friends of Sam Joshi at the taxpayer's expense? Because I noticed some properties on Route 27 that got demolished, and I know exactly who he should have paid for it himself. I believe that some taxpayers paid for it under the disguise of beautification.
Thank you, Mr. Christo. And the members of the public,
Council President?
Councilman Brescher, just as a courtesy to keep the meeting going, and for the rest of it, can we wait to the end?
Well, I thought we were going to comment after.
We were going to comment after the public portion's closed.
Oh, so
Yeah,
we're going
after the public portion's closed, we'll answer any
We're going to have all the public ask their questions, and then we're going to answer like we did last.
He didn't ask a question, he made all comments.
No, there was a question.
Yes, Councilman Brescher, you have the floor.
The house on Route. Just the house on Route.
Do the public, or are we going back and forth?
One second here, 1 second. Councilman Brescher, if, I didn't hear a direct question
There was a
from
question.
Mr. Christo. And what was the question?
Whether the house on Route 27 was taken down by the township, and who's paying for that?
We answered that in his first comments in the beginning, for the
We're on
resolutions.
Route 27? No.
Okay, I must have missed it in there,
Well,
sure.
you just
Okay.
asked, but
You
all
want to
I was
answer
gonna
it,
say
Councilman
was
Brescher?
The house on Route 27 was taken down by the owner of the
Okay.
property,
Okay. Thank you.
the blue one.
Okay,
Is it-
thank you, Councilman Brescher. Any of them, you finished, Ms. Brescher?
Yes, that was it.
Okay, any of the members of the public? Your name and address, please.
My name is Steve, 41 Main Street.
Your last
So-
name, please, sir.
What's that?
Would you give us your last name, please?
No. I have a restraining order on somebody, and I can't give that information.
You gave enough. Thank you.
Okay. So you're live streaming now, right? Is he live streaming?
Yes.
Okay, so he's committing a crime because Mr.
St-
Boslett earlier on gave his address.
Mike.
And you guys broadcast a police officer's address, which is a crime. Officers, if you could arrest him,
Let me
we'll
interrupt
see
one
what
second.
happens.
Mike, are we broadcasting? We're broadcasting, yes.
So he just committed a crime under New Jersey state law because he broadcast a police officer's home address. That's against the law. It's a crime. So he should be arrested for that. So you want our name and address for the records. Again, what about restraining orders? What about public safety? So now you have a police officer's address that's just broadcast live, which is a crime, and Nothing's going on. He's not arrested. It's out there now. So are you going to require police officers to give their addresses, which is a crime, and not force, and then force everybody else to give their address? We don't have the same safety. And please direct me in the Sunshine Law where it says we have to give our name and address. It doesn't say that. It says the public has a right to speak. It's a right. It's not a privilege. Under the Constitution of the United States and New Jersey, we have the right to redress our government, and you're trying to codify an ordinance in violation of the Constitutions and the Sunshine Law. You polled many towns in the area. I truly believe if you could get away with having no public comment, you would. I can already see the mayor censors his Facebook page in violation of the Constitution and case law, which is Van Wagner versus Yady. That was a Hamilton mayor, and it's really rude that you guys are talking, going back and forth, and she's, I guess, playing word quest on Facebook or something. She's not even paying attention. So that was the Hamilton mayor, and it cost him $40,000 for censoring a group of individuals. When I sue, I'll also ask for punitive damages as well, which they didn't ask for, and it cost them $40,000. You say you're also censoring the meetings, because the last meeting, Christo and I believe another gentleman, Jerry Shine, spoke, and that's not up online, so that's censored. And again, the mayor is censoring his page, so I'm wondering if anybody else here is censoring their page, because every single one of you that has a public page, that's a government record. That's a public document. So if you're banning people, if you're censoring people, if you're deleting comments, it's against the law. And his last comment wasn't included in that YouTube video. The mayor also put a spin on that last meeting that I was at, saying, despicable council member here was attacked. It was sexism, racism, etc. She's a councilwoman. That's the issue, councilwoman. So if she doesn't want it, get out of the government. He put a spin on it. So if you notice, I also said things to you, Council President Coyle, but it's not on his page because it doesn't fit their narrative. So you're a white guy, so that doesn't fit your narrative, so I guess I'm not racist towards you. But I guess I'm racist towards her because she's a little old black lady that, you can't say anything, but even though she's a council member. And here she is, playing word art and stuff on her phone instead of listening to the conversation, which is extremely rude. There's no mention of me saying anything to you in that mayor's post. And then he's also got the statement there to rile up the keyboard warriors, including some of the members of the audience over here. They're suggesting to ban citizens from public meetings. I hope you do, because that's a violation of state law. You can't ban somebody from a public meeting. Nobody here was disorderly except for Mr. Diamond, yet he wasn't arrested. He wasn't even given a warning, which I stated to you last time. They want people that disrupt the meeting arrested, escorted out, and I agree that somebody that disrupts the meeting can be escorted out. I sat here, I said nothing. Mr. Diamond last time said something, arrest him. Have him arrested. You can still arrest, the statute of limitations isn't over. You can't pick and choose and be hypocritical and go after him when he says something and then ignore the members of the public that say stuff. That's hypocritical. You have to enforce, your ordinances and your rules on everybody and not just pick and choose who you're going to do it on. And as you see, I don't have my sign up saying fuck Hoyle or saying anti-Semitic Joyce, because I believe that you have redeemed yourself. And if you don't, then I come back here with another sign. And then if you arrest me, I sue. One of the comments on there was, a First Amendment person, you guys are trying to regulate their speech. That's going to work out real well for you. It's not. The courts, the case law, all stands there. You said that you looked up Cohen versus California. You look up Rosenfeld versus New Jersey, because I handed that in. So that's 1972, and that falls under Cohen versus California. That was the Board of Ed meeting in New Jersey. I'm allowed to curse. These people are allowed to curse. He's allowed to curse. You just can't yell and scream, and the yelling and screaming is disorderly, not the cursing. So I'm protected here. The officer said something about being offensive if you're cursing. I have a constitutional right to be offensive. You don't have a constitutional right not to be offended. That's a quote by Larry Flint. Thank you. Oh, my last word is master.
Thank you. Any members of the public? Councilmember Massaro? Former.
Thank you, Council President. Tony Massaro, 86 Laurel Hollow Court. I'm hiding from nobody. That's my address. That's who I am. And you can find me standing right here or back there or wherever. I've witnessed nothing here tonight that tells me any council member needs to redeem themselves for anything. Not what I've seen tonight, and I'm pretty sure that's most nights. What I want to talk about right now, I intend as a constructive suggestion. You handled an extremely weighty agenda, from the implications of a part-time labor union contract to a budget of countless dollars. What I'm concerned about is one of the new business items that you have, which, from what I'm gathering, is intended to solve or prevent a problem which has occurred previously. I'm not sure that 60 seconds or 120 seconds or less or any amount of time is going to solve that problem. Because if a skilled orator wishes to make mischief, they can do it in 60 seconds. They can do it in no seconds. And I see the classroom teachers former classroom teachers shaking their heads, yes. In fact, any parent knows that if you've dealt with a kid. What I'm advising you to do, what I would do if I was in your position, and it's easy to say because I'm not, but this ordinance is up for further discussion and adoption or adoption on June 29th. What I suggest is that between now and then, using whatever skills and abilities you have as a council, you form some type of working committee to get input on this. Because there may be other ways to do this without cutting 60 seconds, without cutting 120 seconds, and having all of the good that you're doing getting lost in that conversation. Because I sense that big items go by and people have minimal discussion on them, the budget, because there's not a full understanding of all of the complexity. However, the simpler the item, the more discussion there is, and I'm not sure that 60 seconds or 120 seconds or however many seconds is going to solve the issue that you have. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Massaro. Ron Loeffler.
Hi, Ron Loeffler, 6 Nancy Circle.
You recognize you have the floor.
I agree with every word he just said. 60 seconds does nothing. Your new format may do something. However, Bruce got up before, asked a question, you didn't answer. We'll answer him later. He went back to his chair, you can come back, and he had a follow-up. So we're back to the old format, or is it the new format? Changing the format can work. I see it. If Margot recommended a trial, scrap the ordinance, change the format, see how it works before you do something that's final.
Thank
Give
you.
it a try.
Thank you. In the back, Mr. Pasquale.
Tony Pasquale, 2 Pine Street. First thing I want to address is, so in the, I guess if you call it the bylaws or of the council meetings, it states that if you're going to address the council, the person shall proceed to the floor, give his name and address. And we're not following that. We're allowing people to just give their names or not giving their full names, or some you're allowing to give their names and other ones you aren't. But our bylaws of the meeting say that you're supposed to give your name and address. So this coincides with that we're not following the rules here. you guys are not following the rules that you should be implementing. And one of the other rules is that the council president has every right, and this was said at the last meeting by the other council, so I'd like to know what the current council here is saying, that the council president has every right to take anybody out of the meeting for any decision that they feel or anything that they feel is inappropriate. So that was said at the last meeting. So I'm curious what the council again this time is saying about that. And I also want to bring up, along with not making that decision, like I'm just curious as to why the council president and the council as a whole would avoid that authority that they have to take somebody out of a meeting that is disrupting or that is saying something that they feel is inappropriate. It is the feeling of what the authority in this room can make a decision on. This is the room of the council, which means the council president is in charge of what happens in this room. Just like you're in a court, the judge has full authority of what happens in that room. So again, the lawyer last time said, yes, the council president does. The laws say, yes, it does. The council president, I sent you information, council president, multiple cases that say, yes, the council president can take anybody out of this room using the authorities. That's what the police are here for. So I'm confused as to why we're not following, again, the bylaws that we have for the meeting, and why it seems like there's a fear from the authority of the council on making a judgment if things are deemed inappropriate by a resident. And just to clear up the free speech in this country, we do not have absolute free speech. The First Amendment protections include vast majority of speech and expression, but it has its limits. Those limits are decided on by the authority, the government officials, all the way up to the White House. Who makes those rules all the way up to the Supreme Court? Who decides on the free speech that we have? Again, we do not have absolute free speech in this country. We can't just go in any government building whenever we want to. There's laws and there's limits. So again, if I could have those questions answered by either council president or the council, I'd appreciate that.
Thank you. You could sit down, we'll address that right now.
Council President?
Thank you. We're going to answer his questions. The attorney's going to answer his questions. Is that okay?
Well, yeah, I mean, this is part of that whole thing, us talking that I wanted us to do.
Okay, would you mind him going first?
Yes.
Okay, I'll do my best to try to address the questions. I think I'll do my best to articulate the law with regard to speech in public meetings. The council president does preside over the meetings, and he has authority over that meeting, but that authority is within the bounds of the law, okay? So the law allows a council president, if a speaker or a member of the public who is at a meeting is disruptive and makes it impossible to do the business of the township, that would be a reason where the council president could look to have that person removed from the meeting. However, the speech in and of itself, if the council president disagrees with the speaker, that would not be a basis for which he could remove that individual from it. Free speech, of course, is not absolute. We understand that you can't yell fire in a crowded theater, but we don't have the ability to set the township doesn't have the ability to say what is proper and what is not. That although free speech is not absolute, that we are not in a position to make content-based restrictions on speech, so that we cannot say certain content is acceptable and other content is not acceptable, unless it is. There are exceptions to that. if it is obscene in some way, if it is excessively vulgar. Even that, though, there's a myriad of cases that have eroded that concept as well. So we're watching this in real time, and there's, of course, certain speech that we all find very distasteful that we've heard. But I am very cognizant that if we take action to restrict free speech, we expose the township to liability. And as counsel, I am very concerned about protecting the township from unwanted lawsuits. So as we proceed, that is the way in which I view my role in advising the council and the council president specifically. So hopefully that answers the member of the public's question as best I can.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Council President?
Yes, Councilman Brush, you have the floor. You're recognized.
I believe that was articulated, I'm going to say almost perfect, okay?
Almost.
The only thing I'd like to add is in using the vulgar language, if it's used in let's say in a loud or aggressive type of manner where it becomes threatening, then I think we have every right at that point. So it's not the language, it's the actions that come with the language.
Yeah, I mean, certainly threatening language would be unacceptable, and the council president could remove somebody. If it was, I think there was a level of obscenity that, obviously, this is publicized, children watch. I think there's a level of obscenity that that could be restricted. But that's a gray area. So we don't have but certainly to your point, Councilman Brescher, threatening language would be unacceptable.
Now,
Yeah.
let me ask another question, because I'm not saying that we shouldn't say whatever we can say here, but as far as our videotaping,
Sure.
could that be edited for the children, let's say? Like the FCC, right? When you go on the FCC can do that?
Are you asking, is this meeting as it's televised, could it be edited?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely, because our obligation to the public exists in this room. What is televised is something that this council has decided they want to make that available to the residents. That is not a legal obligation. So however you decide to edit that, or the administration decides to edit it, that is perfectly acceptable, because you're not violating any legal requirement at that point.
Okay.
Thank you,
Council
Council
President?
Brasher. If we,
Council President, I would
yes,
like.
yes, you're recognized, Council Vice President.
I see people in the audience, and I would like the time for the audience, I mean, not the audience, for our constituents, I should say. I would like that time to be all their time, and then if we decide to say something, we can say something later, because it confuses people with the back and forth, and there are people patiently waiting out there to talk, and I think we're doing a disservice to them by going back and forth and not letting the public have their time, and that's where the problem comes in with the numbers and the time.
My apologies, Councilwoman.
Yes, if there's direct questions we have to answer, we'll do our best to answer questions, but I prefer council members to wait to the end to answer. And although people do have their rights in this room, as the attorney was discussing, I would hope, since some points have been proven already, that as a professional courtesy, as a member of the public, you understand people are listening, people are watching, there are young children in the room, there are scouts at different times, that you would waiver your time to the residents of Edison and not explore the vulgar language in here or do something that's just not necessary to get your point across. And that's a common courtesy. Mr. Diamond, you're next.
Diamond, 74 Calvert. First off,
I recognize you have the floor, Mr. Diamond.
I'd like to thank John Pointer, who seemed to have wrote down my question from Monday night, and in spite of the confusion at that meeting, he called me today and answered it. Thank you. Councilman Brescher, I don't think the meeting should be edited, but bleeping would be all right. Because once you decide to edit, you might start editing me when I tell you to have fun with yourself. Not that I would ever do that. I might invite you to my driveway, but anyway, bleeping.
Not editing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Diamond. Any of the members of the public? Mary Orchid?
Maria Orchid, 83 Jefferson. First, I'd like to congratulate all the graduates. Friday, the high schools will be graduating. And this graduating class went through a lot this past year. Year and a quarter, they were on virtual or hybrid. So they were welcomed back this past September and had to regain and learn the hallways again. My next thing is on Saturday, June 18th, from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. We'll be celebrating Juneteenth at Lake Papiani. So I hope to see everybody here. And my last thing is Happy Father's Day to all. Thank you.
And Grandfather's Day. Thank you. Any other members of the, Mr. Fagan? Our first-time speakers.
Thank you, Council President. Nick Fagan, 42 Edgewood Road.
You recognize you have the floor, Mr. Fagan.
Thank you, sir. I just wanted to remind the council that other boards and committees around town look to you for the example of how long the comment period is. I hear you and I agree with you that it's not necessarily about the minutes, but the chairman of the zoning board specifically had told me, council has a 6-minute limit, you should be used to that. So they follow what you do. And so I would ask to remind you that you're going to set an example for the Board of Education, the zoning board, the planning board, so on down the line. So I would ask for you to carefully consider your time limitation again. Probably the best suggestion I've heard all night is take this offline, get some more resident feedback, figure it out, table it, make sure that you get all of the things right that it sounded like at the work session there was not agreement fully across the board as to all of the things that were included in it. So I would ask that you take it off the table, or in between now and the 29th, you figure out what those individual things are, and I don't know what procedures required to change it to make sure that you tailor it to the constituents' remarks. I would appreciate that. The other thing, for the 30 folks or so that are watching on live stream, again, council, thank you for live streaming this and continuing to provide that service. We know that you don't have to do that, but it really is appreciated and people do watch it. There's some 30 or so watching today, and it's a service that they need. For those folks that are watching and folks in the room, next Tuesday is zoning board. June 21st, 7 p.m., same place here. Charlie Brown's is coming up again, 222 Plainfield Road. The builder applicant is asking for 16 duplexes. We ask the members of the public who don't believe that duplexes, condos, townhomes should be in that part of the neighborhood to come out and tell the zoning board that we would like them to respect the town's master plan and zone plan, that be respected, that land continue to stay golf course natural protection district. That's what it was designed for. That's what it's been for, well, it's been the restaurant, but it's been golf course for decades of years. So we would ask you to come out, tell the zoning board that condos and townhomes do not fit in a single family home neighborhood, and it doesn't fit the character of our neighborhoods. If we lose this one as residents, there's more coming. There's more and more plots of land that will be turned into high-density townhomes, condos, apartments that, frankly, the residents have spoken and that they do not appreciate these dense environments, more traffic, more kids in the schools. We've got a serious problem. We do applaud you for the work that you're doing on the master plan, but we need to cool it, slow down on the density here in Edison as it's causing us major problems. So thank you for hearing me, and I appreciate you.
Any public comments, first-time speakers? Ms. Starr?
Lois Tarr, 52 Reeder Road, Edison.
You're recognized. You have the floor.
Thank you. I don't care whether you have 5 minutes or you have 4 minutes or whatever you limit the time to. I have no problem with it, and I come up and speak quite often. I would ask, though, that if you do consider putting the rebuttal, leaving the rebuttal back in and amending it, that rebuttal be used only for rebuttal, not to start another whole conversation on something that's already been hashed out, and finished with, because that just wastes everyone's time, the people that are viewing and the people in the audience here, or the constituents in the audience here. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Tarr. And the first-time speakers? First-time speakers, none? Christo, your rebuttal?
Am I recognized?
You're recognized.
I'm
Name and address first.
Christo, South Edison. So we just recently had a
You're recognized. You have the floor.
disgraceful library board member come up here, acting like a supreme Karen. He knows the law. We told you guys for over 3 years what the law is. He definitely knows how to use the law against his enemies, his political adversaries. I'll tell you that. So what you have here is textbook Sam Joshi administration people, Sam Joshi people coming here like Karens, being the cheerleaders they always are, to censor the public, or to find excuses to censor the public. Why does he want to do this? We're talking about a man that goes to Board of Education meetings as a library board member and messages the mayor of Metuchen, Mayor Bush, in the audience, who happens to be the lawyer for the Board of Education. His law firm happens to be the lawyer for the Board of Education. And here we have Tony D. messaging the Metuchen mayor on how to better attack board members. Isn't the Metuchen mayor supposed to represent all the Board of Education members? And not only that, Margot, when you look at the messages that he's sending, he'll be talking, Venkata's here at this meeting, Christo's here at this meeting. For me, that's very threatening, because are they going to send people after us for continuing to come to these meetings? I mean, these meetings are publicly broadcasted. Is it necessary for Sam Joshi administration people to be having these text messages? I find it highly inappropriate. I find ethical violation. I think we should remove the Metuchen Mayor Bush as the attorney for the Board of Education. That's my opinion. How much time do I have left? Everyone saw the video that's on Instagram. In fact, he tried giving me a harassment charge for that, which it's completely legal for me to do so. I will beat those charges as well. But there we go. Here you go, the conspiracy. I spoke to one of the police officers before the meeting started, Waldron, and he mentioned something to me which seems to me conspiracy to deprive a member of the public their right. He says, it seems to me not only they're told how to arrest one member of the public when they come in here, but they're coached. They're coached into doing this. They're saying that I'm coming in here to attack you guys rather than use my free speech, my time to speak. That's absolutely disgusting. What's going on, lawyer? Are we going to allow mob rule here, heckler's veto to take over? It's inappropriate for a member of the education. No, council president cannot just say, let's kick out black people from the meeting, let's kick out Greek people, let's kick out Italian people. There's even rules the council president has to follow. And if you're not educated,
You're not sticking to the rebuttal.
I'll look wherever I want as I speak. If he's not educated on the USA Constitution, that's not my damn problem. He needs to shut his damn mouth.
Time's up. Thank you, Christo.
Point of order.
Point of order. Any first, second speakers? Yeah, second speakers? Please, we're finished. Here, point of order. We're finished. I have a second time speaker just back there. Tony, he raised his hand.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Have him come up.
So the first thing is I still didn't get...
As a courtesy,
Tony DePasquale, 2 Pine Street, but again, I still
You
didn't get my
recognize you have the
answer.
floor.
Okay, I still didn't get my answer as to why we don't follow what the bylaws of the meeting say, that every resident should say your name and your address. So if we could do that, I'd appreciate that. The other question I have is, does the FCC regulate like town council meetings and stuff, or is that more just broadcast? Because the FCC basically prohibits any profane or indecent content from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. I would consider cursing would be qualifying as profane. So my question would be, is the Edison TV, do they have to follow FCC rules, or do they they can do anything they want? So I have that question. And then the other thing is, again, making the time 6 minutes, 5 minutes, 4 minutes, and I've said this in an email, 30 seconds, 2 seconds. I mean, it only takes 2 seconds to bring destruction on to something. So again, your time doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter how long you give it. You can give it 30 minutes. You can give it 20 minutes. It's how you run and regulate the meeting. So again, your change to 5 minutes, again, doesn't make any sense. There has not been any reason given why you go from 6 to 5, or 6 to 3, or 6 to 2, or 30 seconds. What's the reasoning behind it? Just, you're now out of the blue. I know years ago I was told it was 3 minutes, and then they went to 6 for some reason. What's the reasoning behind the decision to even bring this ordinance up? And if it's to regulate the meeting better, I'd like to know how that helps regulate the meeting better with one sentence that will take me 20 seconds, could totally be profane, could be totally, it just doesn't make sense. So again, if there's any reasoning that we can get behind this ordinance of time change, what is it? Thank you.
Thank you. If you don't mind, we're just going to answer his questions real quick.
Certainly. Council President, the only one, I guess, question that I can answer is that the question was raised about name and address. Obviously, the local rule does require name and address, as most municipalities do. I felt the gentleman did provide a name and address. Granted, it wasn't a full name and address. I didn't think it was a reason to restrict the individual from speech. I thought that would be, an undue restriction on his ability to speak at a public meeting. So I felt that it was enough of a name and address to proceed, and that was a call that I made.
Thank you.
Thank you, yeah.
And I'm going to go, he was here standing before. Steve?
So, again, it's a crime to publish.
Your name and address again?
Steve, 41 Main Street.
You recognize you have the floor.
So it's a crime to publish a police officer's address. He aired it online. The officers here are ignoring it. I asked to do an IA because they're neglecting to arrest him. The sergeant doesn't want to do his job and do an IA where anybody can do an IA by state law at any time. He said he's busy. I agree with most of what you said, except for this recording is being paid for by the township, right? By taxpayers? Okay, so it's a public document. You're altering a public document. Isn't that a crime? By censoring it?
Continue. We'll answer your questions.
Right, so basically you're altering a public document. You're censoring a public document. When the government censors its citizens, that's not a good thing. So he's being paid to live stream it. He actually committed a crime tonight and nothing's being done about it. Yet, if we republish it, guarantee they'll arrest us. Me or him. But he could live broadcast it and there's nothing that happens to him. And doing it now. And the cops witnessed it. Nothing happens. These idiots over here want the feelings police. And, they want you to determine what's appropriate and what's not. The courts have already determined what's appropriate and what's not. That's not for your determination. Thankfully, the lawyer has a head on his shoulders on that. And, inform the public, which they still don't agree with. And, what overrides an ordinance? The state law, Sunshine Law, says the public has a right to speak. It's not a privilege. Doesn't say anything in there about giving your name and address, although many towns require that. So if I have a restraining order, I have to give my name and address and then worry about getting killed. The officer has to not put it, because that's against the law. The officer shouldn't have his name out there and his address. So I believe the state law trumps your ordinance. Is there a teacher that accused the mayor of sexual misconduct? And I'd like for each member of the council to answer that, please, and thank you.
Thank you, Sid. Thank you.
I'm going to advise council members not to respond to that request of the gentleman, that you each individually respond to that last question that was raised. Thank you.
I would like to make a motion that we close the public
I'm sorry,
portion.
Mr. Loeffler.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hi, Ron Loeffler, 6 Nancy Circle.
So your questions were argumentative in nature. I don't think you were seeking any real questions to be asked. You have, if you want to file an internal affairs complaint, I'm sure you can go to the police department and file that. These officers are not here to take that from you this evening. I don't believe there were, I believe the rest of what you said may have been phrased as a question, but was an argument. So I don't really think there's anything left to respond to. Okay. I think your time is done.
Your questions were reflected in the record. Mr. Loeffler.
Excuse me. Tony D. Pasquale asked a question, and it's been brought up numerous times regarding what exactly is looking to be accomplished by decreasing the time from 6 to 5, 5 to 4, 4 to 5, by decreasing it by 60 seconds. Can that be articulated? Is that going to solve the problem that we're having with an efficient meeting, or, keeping the floor, keeping the conversation going without any inconveniences or whatever's going on?
Thank you.
Council
I
President,
think, I'm just gonna.
I was wondering whose idea this was. Myself.
I mean, to answer your question, and again, this is all opinion stated. What we believe up here on the council and what you believe is just, it's going to be a work through of its time to see how the processes connect. And we felt that based on residents we spoke to in different places we were, that the public was looking for the time to be reduced, and that the time frame of these meetings have been going longer than necessary. And this is, again, we said we'd revisit this at another date. So I know that our opinions today, some agree, disagree. That's the answer I can give you. But obviously, we've all looked at this, and we've debated this and caucused individually, and this is the answer you're getting. I'm sorry you disagree. Some disagree. We're not going to have the back and forth, but yeah, I know what you mean. That's the best answer I can give you because it's an opinion. Is there anybody else? See, no answers, nobody else from the public?
I would like to make a motion that we close the public portion.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The public portion is adjourned. Councilman Brescher, did you have something?
No.
Okay.
I'd like to
I'd
make
like to have a motion
for
to adjourn
adjournment.
the meeting.
I'd like to make a motion for adjournment.
Oh, shit. Can I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 This meeting is